All right, so hi everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. We'll be live in just another minute. We're just waiting for some more people to join. And yeah, looking forward to this one. While we're waiting, in the chat you have a poll. Basically, we are trying to get a few of these webinars going, so we would like your feedback on how often would you like to have these webinars. So would you want them, two live events a week, one live event a week, one every 2 weeks? Obviously, feel free to put your own suggestions in the chat as well. But yeah, anything that, if you're looking to, we would be happy if you provided some feedback, some info on how often would you like these live events to happen. Now, today, and this is basically the start because the time is, the time we are basically ready to go. So my name is Andrej. I'm going to be your host for today. I'll be your speaker for today. I'm based in Central Europe, and I mostly work with executives, so founders, marketers, helping them with position on the market, mostly in the tech space. So I mostly help tech entrepreneurs, tech marketers, tech founders. So whether you want to grow your company or you want to get to the next stage of investment, or you're just a marketer, a founder who wants to have more say in the decisions the company makes, I can help you out. Just a bit about my experience so far. I've worked with about 30 companies one-on-one and about 400 companies through my workshops. My positioning framework is also published on Miraverse, where it has been used by more than 400 teams. So all in all, plenty of experience. The framework is well tested. I have 10 years of experience in marketing, so feel free to ask any questions about the startup world or the marketing, any marketing questions that you can have. Obviously, I'll do my best to answer them. And today's agenda. So today we're going to start by talking about hype, because business marketing in general basically has a hype problem. There is a lot of talk about AI and around that. So basically we'll explain why that makes our job basically as marketers and as founders very much difficult, right? Next, we're going to move on to why context matters. So how can we actually make users go through the right context, get them through the right steps so that they actually buy our products. We're going to be talking about what kind of a company you want to make, because that's really important when you're starting out. And then obviously the final part, why clients don't care about your products at all and how to make them care, because that's when you go from a boring company, from one that's not making money, or from one that's making average money, to a company that's actually making more money than you can handle. I would like to reserve about 15 minutes at the end for any potential questions that you might have. So feel free to either put them into chat or you can ask them at the end. But putting them into chat, you'll get the first one who asks a question will be the first served. So yeah, feel free to just write them down in the chat. And then by the end of the workshop, you should be able to, take on a positioning project in a company, whether that's your company or you're a marketer in the company, and helping them become the go-to solution for a specific group of customers. All right. As I mentioned in the beginning, for those of you who joined later, we are planning a second webinar. So just let us know when would you like it to happen. There is a poll in the chat where you can basically just select whether you would like to see 2 of these live events every week, 1 event a week or 1 event every 2 weeks. Typically, why we're asking these questions is essentially because we need to understand how much time you need to implement some of the things that we are talking about in these workshops. And so, having 2 workshops a week might be too much of an effort, especially if you're actively working on your company. It might not be, we just don't know. So that's why we're asking. Also, put any topic related to marketing, business, investing that you'd like to hear more about, just put it into the chat so that we know what interests you, and we can tailor the content for you, basically. All right. With that going on, let's start talking about the meat of today's workshop. So let's start talking about hype. And I see a lot of that happening in companies right now because there is a lot of noise on the market. Because of AI, companies can now produce a lot more content, a lot more ads, a lot more marketing, a lot more sales, automated sales, whatever, than they have before. So basically, companies can be very, very loud, and our first reaction is to compete with that loudness. So basically, the competitors say something, and we try to say, something. We try to do something bigger. We try to do something better. We try to do, something louder. The problem with that is that bigger and louder does not actually create conversions. So people do not resonate, like people do not buy because you're loud. People do not buy because you have a loud brand, right? People do not buy just because of hype, right? So if you take a look at the example of the 2 websites that you have on the screen, you can see that the first one, I can basically just, the first one feels really generic. So if you take a look at, if you just read through the text on the screen, so innovative solutions delivered, and then on the bottom, if you think we might do that, we probably do. It doesn't really mean anything, right? It doesn't really tell you much about what the company does. It doesn't tell you anything about why you should scroll down. If I open a website like that, I don't know why I should click on that green button on get started now, right? So I don't really know what I'm starting. So why should I click on that button? On the bottom, you have a page that says, accounting software built for owners. Now it's 60% off. So it's given me a clear call to action. Basically, they're selling accounting software for small businesses where the owner still manages the accounting part of the business. And they have a deal right now that's 60% off. So it's clear that if I'm a small founder, I might want to click on that. If I need the accounting software, I might click on buy now and save, right? Because it's really clear, it's a no-brainer offer, basically. So what that shows us, and like what happened with the first team, and I can tell you that from firsthand experience, is that the marketing team probably came up with really specific copy, with really specific text for that website. They tailored the copy, they tailored the texts for the specific audience. But then, sales team pitched in and the CEO pitched in, et cetera. And what happened was that they said, oh, this is really specific to one audience, but what if, someone else comes on the website? And they made the copy more generic. They made the copy for all. The problem is generic copy, generic texts do not work, right? If we are louder, if we are trying to talk to too many people at once, if we are trying to talk to too many customers at once, that doesn't resonate with anyone. We need to speak to one person at a time. Even if you're sharing the website with millions of people, on the other side of the screen, there is just one person at a time reading that screen, right? So you need to talk to them like one-on-one. And the problem right now on the market, and why I'm beginning this workshop like this, is that there is just too much noise on the market. We are trying to be bigger. We're trying to talk to too many people. We're trying to be too loud, and we're forgetting about being specific. And the problem is that sales come from specificity. So sales come from resonance. So basically, if a pain point resonates with me, if a website resonates with me, I'm going to click on that green button. Otherwise, I won't. Now, why this matters and why I talk about positioning a lot. So why I talk about the resonance of the copy a lot is because I started as a small founder in a very small team. There was 4 of us about 6 years ago, and what we developed was a mobile app that helped dyslexic children learn to read. And you can see the app on the screen. This was our app, right? And so what we tried to do, what we launched pretty successfully on our local markets, and what we tried to do was we tried to penetrate the US market, because more than half of the money spent on mobile apps is spent on the US market, right? So we took this app, which we successfully launched on our home market, and we launched it in the US. The only problem was that absolutely no one cared. Absolutely nothing happened. We tried launching ad campaigns. We tried launching. We tried every marketing hack that we could think of, and no one really came into the mobile app, and absolutely no one converted. We had a lot of ideas. We did a lot. This was 2 years of trying to get people to care about our product, and absolutely nothing happened. During the first COVID wave, we even wrote a book, because we did some research and we found that on the US market, basically, if you have a kid that's dyslexic and has trouble reading, you have, as a mother who is trying to help that kid, you have a difficult job, because you can either go throughout the websites, the blogs on the websites that show you, pieces of what you should be doing, or you can essentially, learn a lot about dyslexia and how brain works from scientific books. And neither of these options is really nice. Neither of these options is really, pleasant. So what we did was we created a 70-page book where that it was really nicely structured, so that you can just take, my kid is 6 and, he doesn't know how to do this, so you should be doing these exercises, right? Or my kid is 5, you should be doing these exercises. And so we launched this book as a lead magnet for the mobile app, and it worked flawlessly. We were getting emails for about 50 cents per user, so extremely cheap on the US market. The problem was nobody converted into the mobile app. And we had mentors, when we had advisors that were telling us that we had sales problems and we had marketing problems. We had none of that. We had positioning problems. And this is when I learned that if your positioning is wrong, nothing else matters. If your positioning is wrong, you can try anything else in your company, nothing will work, right? And why positioning is tricky is because it doesn't really happen. We can't really control it 100%, right? Because it's not happening inside our product. It's not happening with us. It's happening in the minds of the customers. And the customers are thinking about a lot of different things, but they're not thinking about your products. Basically, your customers do not care about your products. They care about their problems. That's it. right? And so at this stage, most of the founders that I talk to or teach, they say that, okay, so if this is so tricky, if positioning is so tricky, I'll just ignore it. The problem is that you can't, right? You can't ignore positioning because it's not happening with you, it's happening in your customer's head. So it doesn't really matter what kind of context, like even if you give no or want to give no context to your customers, it's, that's context as well. No context is context. Even if you don't say anything to the customer will still get an opinion on you, on your idea, on your product, and so on. And so if you decide to ignore positioning, these are the problems that you're going to have in the company. And so check through them whether these resonate with you. So if you have some loyal customers, but new clients don't know what you do. So if you have some people, for example, in our case, in Kobe's case, so mobile app, we help dyslexic children to read. We had some customers that were with us for 2 years, but new customers did not convert because they didn't know what exactly was the value of our app. Second one, if you have long sales processes, especially in B2B, but low conversion rates, that's a sign that you have a positioning problem. 3, if people object your prices are not actually a math or a number problem. Prices are actually an understanding problem, and so that's a positioning problem, because pricing it means that I value my services or my products at this level, and you do not see that value. So it's basically a communications problem. Next, if you're receiving poor quality leads or not getting enough leads into your product, that means you probably have a positioning problem. Basically, people don't understand what you're doing, so they're not sharing it with their friends and so on. If your competitors are overtaking you, if your marketing is not working, if you don't have a clarity, if you don't know where you're going to be or where you want to go in the next 3 years, that's probably a positioning problem. And the biggest one is if your team disagrees where to go next, that's a positioning misalignment. And you can test this really quick. So basically, you can ask your head of sales, you can ask your head of marketing, you can ask the founder, like, where do you see yourself? Where do you see the company going in the next 12 months? What's the most important thing? Like, why do people buy from us? And what's the most important thing we should be doing in the next 12 months? Take these 3 questions, ask your department heads, and you'll see whether you all say the same things, or if there is a misalignment, or if there is something, if you think in different ways. Because if you think in different ways, that means that there is the positioning in misalignment. So that basically means that marketing will be doing something, sales will be doing something else, the CEO will have another idea, and so basically no one will, you don't push in the same direction. So these are the symptoms if your positioning is not working. Now, if your positioning is working, the exact opposite is true, right? So leads and prospects, they understand your product immediately. So that means that the sales processes are shorter than the industry standard. People understand why your prices are as much as they are. You are connecting with best fit leads, you are getting inbound leads. So basically your marketing is working, your sales are working, your team works together, right? So this is if you take care of your positioning. If you take care of your positioning will take care of you, right? So how do we take care of our positioning? Now, the first rule is that your company needs to be built on assets, right? So you need to think about what's something that you can build that matters to your clients, that your competitors can't replicate, that hopefully you can prove. So it has to be true, right? So if we break this down, what's something that you can build? That means that you need to be able to do it. You need to be able to deliver. Basically, we cannot say that we will create the best SaaS tool for accounting if we know nothing about accounting, right? Or if we can't develop tools, right? It's as simple as that. Now, the next part of the sentence, the clients need to care about it, right? If you build something that's different, but that the clients don't care about it, in that case, there is no real point because the clients won't be willing to buy it, right? The first part of the sentence, the competitors can't quickly copy. Ideally, if your competitors can't quickly copy what you're doing, that means that you have an unfair advantage, right? So I was in talks now with a company that's building a feature that's not on the market yet. And they believe that they have between 6 and 12 months of advantage because they have that feature and no one of the competitors have it. So the competitors will need between 6 and 12 months to catch up. But in those 6 to 12 months, we can onboard a lot of users because of that feature. So that gives you an advantage. And also in the same time, in those 6 months, you can already be planning the next feature that's going to give you a further advantage, right? The fourth part of the sentence, that you can actually prove. The sentence actually needs to be true. We can't just go and promise, random stuff. We can't just go and promise and hype things up, because then we end up with marketing promising a lot, but product not delivering on that, and that means that the clients will not be happy with our products. Now, excuse me. This is the example that Tesla had, right? So Tesla basically identified a gap on the market where with the Tesla's first car was about $60,000 or something like that. So they were competing with Porsche, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, etc., etc. And so if you take a look at why, people who have 60,000 to buy a car, they care about speed, reliability, comfort, prestige, and that was it until Tesla came on the market, right? Now, people also care about tech. People want to have gadgets in the cars. But if I had 60,000 US dollars and I wanted to buy a car that had good tech inside, I couldn't do it until Tesla came along, right? So Tesla actually found the niche on the market that basically they provided cars with 32-inch screens inside instead of the steering wheels. So basically now I can buy a tech-first car, right? And that's why people cared about Tesla. That and the fact that it's environmentally friendly, which was covered by the mission that Tesla has, because it's an electrified car, right? So this is what you're looking for. You're basically looking for a gap on the market, something that's unsatisfied need on your market. So you have to think about how can you create something that's not satisfied yet, that the clients care about, and that you can deliver, and obviously that the competitors can't quickly replicate. So that's what Tesla basically did. Now, once you identify that, be ready to do the difficult things. Be ready, like most of the founders that identify, okay, so we should be doing this, then they figure out, okay, so this is going to be difficult, and then they stop there. So you don't want to stop there. Difficult things is where your unfair advantage is. Difficult things are what makes your company exciting, right? Once you nail those difficult things, that's when magic basically happens. So don't be afraid of hard work. Be grateful that you can do that work. Now, when you go through these steps, so basically when you find what makes you special, when you find that differentiation and you execute, so you do the hard things and you execute on that, this is the results that basically you can expect. So I mentioned Copy in the beginning, so the mobile app that helps dyslexic children learn to read, and I mentioned that nobody wanted to buy our product on the US market when we launched. So after we repositioned the product, after we started presenting it in a better way, we basically started getting messages like this. We started getting messages like, this is going to be life-changing, y'all are geniuses. I absolutely loved giving my kid the option of resizing words, etc., etc. Because we figured out what clients really want, and we found how to give it to them, right? Now, this is how this looked in numbers. So when we started, we couldn't get any traction whatsoever. After we figured out, okay, this is what customers want, and this is how we give it to them, and we changed our approach to marketing, this is basically what happened. We lowered the cost of user acquisition by 52%. Our communities in the mobile ads started growing by more than 200%. So basically, we doubled our revenue. We actually more than doubled our revenue. And this led to a seed stage investment later on, right? So because in the next less than 3 months, we managed to get twice as many users, and we managed to show that our marketing is working. We attracted attention by investors, which led to an investment, all because we proved that our marketing is working. We just repositioned the company. We asked clients what they want. We gave it to them, and that was that. Now, there are other examples. So, for example, on this difficult things, right? I worked with 2 clients in the past where one of them was Kevin, a Spanish guy. And when I came into the company, essentially his cost of user acquisition was going up and up, and his conversion rates were going down. And that was because there were more and more competitors joining into the market. So he had a monopoly in the beginning, but he was losing it, right? And excuse me just for a second. And so after doing the audit, we figured out that there was a lot of competition joining in the market. And that's obviously these competitors were joining the ad market. So basically everyone was advertising, which meant that the cost of user acquisition was going up and the conversion rates were going down. And so when we analyzed everything, I opened up Kevin's website, and I opened his competitor's website next to his website. And I found that essentially I couldn't tell a difference between the three websites, right? That meant that our customers couldn't tell the difference as well. So that meant that if you have 3 websites and they essentially all say the same things, you're gonna go with the option that's cheapest, right? And so obviously our website was not the cheapest, simply because we were the leaders in that market. We were there the longest. We actually had the best tech. But we had no way of showing that to the user. So what we did was we repositioned the product first, and we basically asked clients what do they want to do, and what do they want to do with our software. And we took that language, we took those answers, and gave them turned that into the text on the main page, right? So people said X, and we put that X on the website. So you want to do X, get in because you're in the right place, right? And that worked for a while, but then the competitors started copying us a lot, right? And so we decided to do the difficult thing. We decided to actually change the whole product, improve the user experience throughout the product. So we designed the whole new onboarding system. We designed a new gamification system. So basically, when you came into the software, you had a really nice experience, and you also were gaining levels like in games, so that basically, you had this engagement in the app where you did something and then you gained some points, and then you did something and you gained some points, right? And that led to users really experiencing that we are actually the best in the market. So now when they opened the free websites, they could go through the onboarding funnel, and they saw that our solution is actually the best on the market, and that's why they're paying more. Now, the company went from 1 million to 3 million in the next 12 months. But the point here is that Kevin was willing to do the difficult things, because redoing the whole product, redoing the whole gamification part of the product was not easy. And it took us 6 months, right? 6 months that basically he didn't know whether we would still be alive, whether his company will still be alive at the end of the process, and whether that that UX change will actually make a difference. But it did. So the company went from 1 million to 3 million, and essentially the competitors then started replicating that, but Kevin already had a head start, so he is now still ahead and still successfully growing. Now, I also had another client who, this company was doing about, I think, $30,000 a month, and this guy was not prepared to do the hard things. He was basically trying to, get the quick hack, try something new. If it didn't work, quickly forget it, and then try something else. And we managed to scale from 30,000 to 300,000, but every time that we did, we went back to 30, because the quick hacks do not work. You have to be ready to do the difficult things. And if you do the difficult things, these things will happen. Your company will grow. You will get investments. Your investors will see that you're doing the difficult things. Your clients will understand that you're doing the difficult things. Your product will be much, much better for it. Your marketing will work. Your sales will work. And this is what you want from the company, right? All right, so we are slowly coming to the end. We are at 32 minutes. This is step one. So find what makes you special. As I said, we are planning more webinars going deeper into the process. But do put your questions in the chat, and I will look to answer them. That is, if I actually manage to see the chat. All right. Okay, so I have a question here. Can you give a real-world example of hype causing a company to take the wrong decision? Yes, absolutely. I have a few, so let me... All right, so there is a company in the US that I'm working with, and I'm providing mentoring services through their services. So basically, they're a consulting company, and I mentor through their service, right? So they're like an agency, and I work through their service. And how it works is you have they have clients, and I occasionally meet on a, let's say, monthly basis through with those clients, right? So let's say we have two meets a week, we have 2 meets a month, or like 1 meet a month, depends on the client to the client. And the company provided an AI chatbot now that is supposed to help with our work. Now, the chatbot is designed so that the client can actually access it 24/7, ask questions, and it will get the answers because it's trained on the company data. Or the mentors, so me, I can access it and ask it, about the data, about the company, how we're doing, etc., etc. The problem is no one actually asked for that, and no one really needed that chatbot. So basically, the company designed an AI chatbot based on hype that nobody really needs, and so nobody really uses. So that was money thrown away, right? So that's a clear example of what not to do. And I think there is a lot of that happening right now. There is a lot of hyper out AI, and there is a lot of companies jumping onto that AI train just to try to stay relevant or trying to look for that hack to get it new users or convert existing users. But the reality is that it doesn't really work that way. Like, if AI supports your business strategy and your positioning strategy, in that case, AI makes sense to integrate into your products. But in most cases, it's just an add-on that nobody wants to pay for, right? So, for example, out of the famous examples, for example, Miro.com or ClickUp, for example, they both integrated AI and they promoted it heavily, but I doubt that there is actually anyone really using it because there is simply no use for it. There is simply it doesn't add anything to the experience, right? It doesn't make any sense to have an AI in a whiteboard, in an infinite whiteboard. It doesn't make any sense. Like in ClickUp, I just want to, have my tasks and click them when I'm done with them, and that's pretty much it. I don't need AI to help me do that, right? So why would I use it? So most companies are adding AI to jump on, the hype trains. My advice is do not do it. Even now, for example, Intel is changing their whole marketing departments with AI. I believe in 6 to 12 months, we will see Intel as a case study of what not to do in marketing, because they're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? And if you take a look at their stocks, they should actually be competing with AMD and with NVIDIA. And NVIDIA stock actually rose for 1,500% in the past 5 years. Intel stock actually lost 60% of the value, and I believe that's this AI move is going to move them further away from the growth that they should be doing. All right, let me check if we have any other questions. So looks like that's it. If you're watching the replay, do put comments in. We'll try to answer the comments in the next webinar. It will be in maybe a week, maybe two. We'll see what happens with the answers in the poll. But if you have any questions, if you have any further questions regarding marketing, business, investing, do put it into the chat, even if you're watching the replay, and we'll look at the chat before the next webinar. Thank you for joining today, and we'll see you at the next event. Bye.